The Opposite Effect by Gnosta. We all of us fantasize, I think. I believe that it's a natural, normal thing to wish for things to be better, even impossibly better. Some girl you want to lay, you imagine what it would be like, what she looks like unburdened by clothing, maybe even fantasizing the exact situation. Roses, wine, romance, love, whatever you're into, your imagination is the only limit. It's not just sex. Maybe you fantasize about superpowers, the ability to become invisible, to observe others without their knowledge, or to steal things you covet, or for any perverse reason you might imagine. No limit but your mind. You want to fly? Imagine it. You can do whatever you want in a fantasy. I'm sure some of us have come up with a fantasy about being able to read the thoughts of others. I know I have. I think that would be beneficial for multiple reasons. A pretty girl. Is she into me? Is she not into me? What can I possibly say to make her interested in me? Not just sex again. How can I get this job? What can I possibly do to make up my wrongdoing? What does this person in this situation believe I should say to get exactly what I want? Then I just fucking say it. It would make life simpler. Fantasizing is fun. That would be the superpower I would love to have. Reading thoughts. Shit. Poker would be a breeze. Life would be a breeze. Financially, sexually, for everything. You would certainly know who your true friends are. I even took it a step further, of course, imagining the unwanted consequences. People will always think negatively of you eventually, just as you might occasionally think negatively of your mother or your best friend. Also, what if people think in a different language? You couldn't understand that. What if their thought processes were so different than your own? I don't always think in correct sentences or even English words. Maybe I think up an image of breasts or pizza or anything. Sometimes things pop into my head in images and I don't even want them to. How can you interpret that? Maybe you think someone wants a kitten, but they really want to kill all cats. There was one thing I never thought of until it happened. I don't know why anyone would think of it. Fantasy is essentially thinking about things that you want. Maybe you imagine a worst-case scenario in certain situations, but I bet you never could have imagined before reading this the opposite of a fantasy. Looking back now, I suppose that the first real incident occurred yesterday morning. I was heading out the door to work. I often see Ms. Superbitch in the morning getting her paper. I don't know anyone else who still gets a paper delivered to her door, but she does. I never even noticed what newspaper it was, as I have a habit of not caring very much what other people do, especially old people. Of course, I do think it's slightly odd that someone still gets a physical paper made with real paper, but it's just not odd enough to bother looking at the paper. Ms. Superbitch, normally pleasant and disarming, almost snarled at me. Well, allow me to digress. Ms. Superbitch is actually Ms., and she'll correct you too if you opt for Miss or Mrs. Suckovich. I'm not really sure the origin of her surname, and I really don't care. There isn't much she can do to further any interest I have, allowing me to not care about her, and she's actually quite a bitch. She was the one who complained to the Homeowners Association when I got the automatic garage door because the color didn't match the monotone gray boredom of everyone else's garage doors. She called the police one night before 10 p.m. because she thought my TV was too loud. Ms. Superbitch is also quite fond of telling anyone she can briefly capture with words how they can be a better person. The advice usually reflects qualities that she possesses or believes that she possesses. Honestly, she's just a bitch, hence my name for her, Superbitch. I remember thinking Superbitch as I smiled and nodded. She glared at me, then actually snarled. Who the hell snarls? I didn't think too much about it at the time. She could be moody, and other neighbors have called her eccentric at times. Bitchy is a better word in my opinion, more accurate and descriptive. Looking back now, that was the beginning of what was to be the worst day of my life so far. Another minor thing that happened on the way to work, so minor that I didn't consider it too terribly relevant at the time. I drive on the freeway for approximately 20 minutes of my 30-minute commute. I like to drive fast. Another car, some rust-colored piece of shit, cut me off. By that I mean that the asshole wasn't paying attention to what other drivers were doing. I was going about 75 when he pulled in front of me, causing me to apply the brakes and slow down to about 55 miles per hour. I always consider that sort of behavior to be quite rude. There didn't seem to be any reason for him to do that. He wasn't passing anyone, didn't seem to be interested in getting off the freeway, just driving like an idiot. I'm sure that most people who have driven for any length of time realize that the road is full of dipshits who should not have licenses. If you're not aware of this, you are probably part of the fucking problem. Fucking asshole, I thought. Seconds later, his driver's side window was down and his arm was out of the window. Slowly he extended his middle finger. The first time it clicked that something was wrong, seriously fucking wrong, was when I arrived at work. I began to realize what exactly was happening, or what seemed to be happening, as technically it should really be impossible. Janet, our receptionist, really isn't much to look at when all you can see is her face. Her eyes seem a little close together, her nose is a little too long, and her skin is really pallid and slightly off-putting. However, that is only just a description of her when all you can see is her face. Her body is something else entirely. When I arrived back at work, she was just returning to her desk. She smiled her typical smile, and I smiled mine. My eyes happened to drift down as she turned to return to her desk. Her pantyhose were black, and her almost crimson-colored skirt was a bit tighter than usual. My eyes happened to rest upon her butt, where I could clearly discern the exact shape of what was lurking, maybe just waiting, beneath her clothing. Nice ass, I thought. When Janet turned back to look at me, after sitting down, she was no longer smiling. She seemed a little shocked or unsettled about something. Unfortunately, my thoughts lingered. I pictured myself grabbing her ass. I imagined the flesh, the color of it, what it felt like. I'd like to pound the shit out of that ass. Mr. Sutman, that is completely inappropriate, especially in this day and age. Anger had replaced the confusion on her face. Excuse me? The image of her nude rear dissipated in my mind. The ever so slight arousal that was coming on was suddenly extinguished as well. No, I don't think I will excuse you. I am happily married, and even if I weren't, that is no way to talk to a woman, especially a colleague. What do you mean? I stammered. Then I thought, did I say that shit out loud? I'm very sure that you're aware of what you did. She was clearly angry, and it seemed she was getting angrier. Normally, as part of my job, I could talk myself out of any situation. But it felt like I was just struck a hard blow, and an extremely rare thing occurred. I was lost for words, or at least appropriate words to save my ass and get me out of the situation. I'm terribly sorry, Janet. I haven't been feeling very well lately. Lame, Jack. Fucking stupid thing to say. As I quickly left the small reception area, with Janet glowering at me, I was to realize later that there was something beneath the anger. She said something that made me break out in a cold sweat. Yes, that was a very stupid thing to say. When I got to my cubicle, I'll have to get back to that later, I was extremely uncomfortable. Am I going crazy? What the fuck was that? A number of thoughts soared through my head. When I calmed down a bit, they altered. I'm a salesman, and I'm a damn good one. I have a knack for saying the right thing at the right time. I close over 90% of the time. Now this is a twofold closing method. First I use a carrot, then I use the stick. If they don't want to bite on the carrot, then they get the fucking stick. As a mental exercise, I often work on both these methods. The first one, manipulation, is subtle. You alter your words based on what you know of the person. You make them think that they could get whatever they want if they buy overpriced automotive parts from you. It goes beyond that, and I use it in my daily life to get virtually anything. But I sell auto parts by trade. I began on reflecting on what I said to Janet. This was not a good sales comment, and I'm better than that. I was flustered, and I'm rarely flustered. Instead of some stupid shit like, I'm not feeling well, I should have said, sorry, I know it was inappropriate. I really didn't mean to offend you, but you look so beautiful today. Shit, give her an award-winning smile, a little charm. I can still fix this. Or, you misheard me, Janet. I have nothing but respect for you. I certainly don't view women that way. As a matter of fact, what are you mumbling about? Came a voice breaking me out of my mental exercises. It was Nerd Boy, or Sam, or whatever the fuck his name is. Sean? Nerd Boy, Nerd Boy, Nerd Boy. I used to be his superior, and he seemed to have respected me enough not to piss me off. After an overhaul of the way management was run, I was no longer a team leader. Essentially, I was the same rank as the other drones in the office. Most of them still deferred to my better sales experience and the fact that I used to be above them, but I had a sense that Nerd Boy's respect was diminishing. Now I know I wasn't saying anything. Not mumbling anything. Get to work. Sir, yes, sir, he said sarcastically. What if he's reading my thoughts? Went through my mind. Silly, a ludicrous idea. That's not even possible. Yeah, okay, I'm reading your thoughts, Suit. I didn't think anything for a few moments. I didn't know what to think. Now I look back and realize He had as much disdain for me as I did for him, and he also had a nickname for me. He is a nerd, in the traditional sense, quoting Star Trek bullshit, playing games with his friends when he's off work, and even bragging about it at work instead of appropriately hiding the fact that he had nothing to better do with his time. Going to fucking Comic-Con, the list is endless. He calls me Suit? The primary thing bothering me was that I was pretty sure he was reading my thoughts. I put my hand in my mouth and pinched my lips together between my thumb and index finger, and then squeezed relatively tightly. I wanted to test this. What would offend a nerd? I pushed a thought to the top of my head, enunciating each word clearly so that I could hear my own voice uttering the phrase in my mind. Game of Thrones is boring. There was nothing from him, only a slight rustling from his cubicle. Okay, maybe I'm losing my mind. Or maybe he doesn't like Game of Thrones. Maybe I wasn't being offensive enough. Yeah, that's it. Shit, Jack, you're being too much of a salesman. Be a dick. So I was. Star Wars sucks giant hairy monkey balls. I screamed at the statement into my mind without opening my lips. What is your problem, Sutman? Go home and watch your football games, or whatever it is you like. And you don't need to be suddenly trying to be a dick. You usually are one. My fingers were still tightly pressing my lips together. It was actually starting to hurt. This is impossible. He's reading my mind. Fucking douchey nerd boy. Hey, Sutman Suit, why don't you just fuck off? I don't think I need your shit today. He stood up. Now, Nerd Boy is a big guy, standing 3 inches taller than me, and he is certainly much wider than me. However, his girth is not muscle, but all flab, probably from eating Cheetos on his couch all day while masturbating to Lord of the Rings. I considered the stick, normally my go-to in a situation like this, but I was scared. The shock was wearing off and I was frightened, not of physical harm, but when something impossible happens to you, it can mess you up, it can confuse you, as it did me, and it could scare you. So, I did as he requested. I fucked off. I felt that I really needed a drink, and I knew where to get a drink. I knew that in Nuts Fart's office he had a bottle, and that was what I felt I needed. Harry is management. He actually has a job that I was supposed to have. I'm supposed to be in management. I'm also supposed to have an office. But Nuts Fart came along. Our last manager, Alicia Rodriguez, knew she was leaving, moving on to greener pastures, and all but promised me the job. I was the best salesman. I had the best numbers for sure. Their excuse, the owner, who is Alicia's father, and Alicia herself, told me I was the best on paper. The best on paper is the best as far as I'm concerned. Numbers don't lie. Some customers had complained, it seemed. I was too abrasive, too forward, too pushy. Yeah, the stick works, but it has its drawbacks. They decided not to promote from within. Alicia found someone outside the company, Harry Nutsfart, or Nutsfart, as I call him. One of the first things he did was completely shut down the second floor. All us normal salesmen, including team leaders such as myself, lost our offices and were shoved into cubicles on the first floor. I guess he wanted to save the company some money on rent, and I guess he succeeded. A few guys left, and I almost did, but no one would hire me when I interviewed for other jobs, and it was difficult to get a recommendation because I couldn't get one from work, as I didn't tell them I was leaving. So, I was stuck in a cubicle when I used to have an office, and I was passed over for promotion when I was a shoo-in for it. Anyhow, Harry had a bottle of Jack Daniels that he kept in the bottom right drawer of his desk. Alcohol at work is forbidden, and even at sales meetings, our boss frowns upon its use. Of course, he can do whatever he wants, and does, because he is management. However, I have to say, I've never seen him take a drink in his life, only offer to others meaning VIP clients, not peasants such as myself. His office is decked out quite elaborately, and even includes a massive mahogany desk. A far cry from the pressboard shit us peons have in our cubicles. He even had an oak bookcase built into the wall where he could display his expensive antiques. I'm pretty sure that he didn't personally pay for the furniture in the room. Nutsfart's office was unlocked, and I was able to just open the door and walk right in. Unfortunately, the same couldn't be said for his desk. All the other drawers on his desk were unlocked. They didn't even have locks. The one on the bottom right, the only drawer I wanted, did have a lock. I pulled hard and it wouldn't budge. I kicked it with the same result. I rummaged through his desk, found a steel ruler, a nice one with cork on the bottom to prevent it from sliding. It was thick, but not thick enough. I bent it and ripped off some of the cork. Useless. I tossed it aside and pulled out everything in his top dress drawer, a stapler, papers, pens, useless shit. While doing that, I managed to spill most of the contents of his desk onto the floor. Who the hell needs half this shit in the 21st century? A ruler? Are you a fucking math teacher? My eyes happened to rest on something that would work, on his desk. He had an antique letter opener. It was thick, almost like a dagger, and it had an odd brass duck handle. The son of a bitch was heavy, too. I shoved the tip into the fraction of an inch opening at the top of the drawer. Once there was leverage, I slammed it up. The wood began splintering and cracking, and I felt it giving. I used more force, and there was suddenly a loud snap as the letter opener broke right as the drawer flew open. "Jackpot," I said aloud as I eyed the bottle. Jackpot indeed. I immediately recognized that condescending voice. I looked up, and there was Nutspart, standing in the doorway, just glaring at me. He is almost skeletal in appearance, creepy looking. He is far creepier when he's upset with you. Shit. Shit? Shit is all you have to say? He said the words calmly. He did everything calmly. I've never seen the slightest amount of anger expressed by him. That's not exactly a positive. He never shows any emotion at all, and seems to even disdain friendliness. He is pompous and pretentious, and even sometimes seems to almost speak in what I am sure he thinks is a more upper-class accent, as I guess he considers that group of people to be superior. I didn't say anything, of course, but it all came back to me, the reason I wanted a drink. I can't talk my way out of this, I thought. Go ahead and try, he said, evenly, directly. I wasn't looking at or making eye contact with Janet or Nerdboy when they seemed to have read my thoughts, but Nutspart was only 8 feet away, and I knew he could see my mouth. I also knew that my mouth wasn't moving when I thought, douchebag. He didn't seem to have noticed that my mouth wasn't moving. It amazes me that you are a top salesperson. On paper. Is this how you close deals? Douchebag? Fuck you, was all that came out of my mouth. But of course not all that came out of my mind. This should be my office, my desk, my fucking job. This should be my lame, broken brass duck letter opener. I still had it in my hand, the heavy brass handle of it, weighing at least 3 or 4 pounds. Maybe it should be. Maybe it shouldn't be. However, it's my pleasure to inform you that you no longer have a job. Not my job, not your job. You have no job. Consider yourself terminated from our employment. Stick time. With barely a thought to what I was doing, I lobbed the handle at his head. Now normally when I refer to the stick, it is threatening, but I certainly don't get violent. The stick for me is also manipulation and maybe a little bit of bullying, but usually not violence. That is, until I threw the brass duck. He was able to deflect a direct hit to his skull, barely. He brought his arm up in time and it struck his wrist, then glanced off his temple, the jagged remnant of the blade scratching and drawing blood. He stood in shock for a moment before composing himself. You couldn't content yourself with the loss of a job. You had to push it further. I suppose you want to go to prison. Well, I'm happy to oblige. I had myself under a bit more control when I stood up and left his office. I walked within 1 foot of him, despising him, furious. Still, I was able to prevent myself from doing any further physical harm. That's only physical harm, of course. Cunt, douchebag, assface. Have a pleasant morning, Mr. Sutman. To his credit, he didn't flinch away from me, nor did he seem to get angry. Eat a bag of dicks. After my experience with the pretentious douchebag Nutspart, I soon realized that I still wanted a drink, probably more than one. I didn't bother cleaning out my desk or retaining anything decorative from my cubicle. I didn't have much personal stuff there, and what I did have, I didn't really care so much about, including the photos of my children. I could have stopped at a 7-Eleven or a grocery store, but there's a liquor store near my condominium complex that I decided to go to. I don't have many friends. Maybe I don't have any friends, but I did like the guy who ran the place. Was he a friend? Perhaps not, but I liked him, and I don't like most people. Unfortunately, when I arrived, Ahmed wasn't there. I don't know why I didn't think of that possibility before. He was usually there, but sometimes his nephew was running the place. I suppose Ahmed needs some time off on occasion, but why that time? I do not like Ahmed's nephew. Don't think, don't think, don't think. What do I want to drink? Oh, that rhymes. Don't think, don't think, don't think. What do I want to drink? Why is there blue Pepsi? Don't think, don't think, don't think. What will I drink? No, that's not how it goes. Not enough syllables. I'll just get a 6er of Heineken and a bottle of Jack. Don't think, don't think, don't think. Ahmed's nephew is a fucktard. Stop! Don't think. I glanced at the counter, but he seemed to be lost in his phone, a look of concentration on his face. Maybe also because his first language was Arabic. Maybe he was tuning me out. Or, just hopefully, he can't read my thoughts like everyone else seems to. Now, the primary reason that I don't like Ahmed's nephew is due to the fact that he insists on declaring his Christianity in almost any conversation. I have heard him tell complete strangers, customers who just stopped in for a purchase, and didn't speak a word to him, that he was Christian. Maybe he wanted to be liked in a nation that was predominantly Christian, primarily after 9/11. I don't know. But it's just weird. Not carrot or stick. So unnecessary. So unusual. So damn weird, especially if you don't need anything from the other person. The bottle of Jack that I wanted was behind the counter. Most of the pricey stuff is. The shop was typically sized convenience store and mostly carried overpriced snack items like a 7-Eleven. And it was a liquor store, but with the exception of beer, wine, and several promotional bottles, all the hard stuff was behind the counter and required a request from the customer. I'd have to talk to him. I never called him by his name because I couldn't remember his name. Ahmed introduced me once, but I barely remember names unless I think it will help with the sale. Hey man, I'll take a bottle of Jack Daniels. A fifth? He had a slight accent, but not as strong as Ahmed's. Different generation. Nah, big one. I forced myself to think random, harmless thoughts. The sky is blue, grass is green, roses are red, look at you, stop thinking in fucking poems, asshole. Ahmed's nephew just looked at me for a moment. He always did that shit, as if every word that came out of his mouth was ancient wisdom, and the listener needed a dramatic moment to prepare. One moment. He set his phone down and was fondling the silver monstrosity around his neck. A crucifix. It was at least 4 inches long, thick as hell, and probably weighed at least 2 pounds. Shit, why can't Ahmed be here today? I miss that thicker, richer accent of his. Why the fuck am I thinking this? The nephew stopped, his hand on the neck of a bottle, looking at me. That probably was a weird thing to say, probably not even normal to think. Ahmed has a doctor's appointment today. Even if no, he could take time off, yes? Certainly, I replied. Watch it, Jack. Sing a song, recite a poem, do anything but think. Often a tune will involuntarily get stuck in my head, but try as I might, I couldn't think of a single song at that moment. But I was lucky enough to think of a poem from childhood. Shel Silverstein, Better Than Nothing. He walked back toward the register with my bottle in his hand. Anything else? I eat my peas with honey. I've done it all my life. The beer, too, please. It makes the peas taste funny, but it keeps them on my knife. Ahmed's relative then looked at me strangely without having rung anything up on the register. Are you okay, Jack? I actually heard concern in his voice. It's odd, but I always thought he disliked me in the same manner that I dislike him. His hand went to the crucifix wrapped around his neck on a thick chain. He began to caress it. Fucking weirdo, I thought. What? He didn't seem angry, but the concern had gone into his eyes. I could see it, there, just beneath his dark brown irises. I eat my peas with honey. I've done it all my life. It makes the peas taste funny, but it keeps them on my knife. The situation was becoming increasingly stressful. Are you feeling well, Jack? I eat my peas with, yes, I'm fine, honey. Fuck, I'm fine, dude. I've done it all my life. Fuck this. I'm in a hurry, man. How much do I owe you? One hand on his crucifix, he rang up my purchase. $45.80, please. I looked through my wallet, but was having trouble counting and deliberately thinking nonsense at the same time. Beer, honey, peas, I have $126. Sky, pussy. Pussy? Don't think that shit now. Blue, knife, and 6 20s, a 5 and a 1. Honey, peas, Jack Daniels. I want to get drunk as quickly as possible. Give him honey, peas, 2 20s, a 5 and a 1, dogs, knife. I practically threw the cash at him. Keep the change. He looked at me somberly, not touching the bills on the counter, both hands on his crucifix now, fondling it, almost massaging it. Be well, he said. I moved so quickly toward the door, thinking that it wasn't so bad. At least I didn't piss off anyone or get fired or accused of sexual harassment. Okay, not so bad. As I hit the exit, while mostly looking over my shoulder, I slammed directly into someone else. Shit. No shit. Excuse me. Whoa, handsome. In a hurry? The man was smiling. I wish that was all I noticed, but that's not the way it happened, of course. He was a black guy, maybe in his late 20s or early 30s. So far, no problem. My father despised racism, and I was brought up the same. This man, however, was more than a little bit effeminate, dressed all in purple satin, almost velvety in places, bizarre clothes that exist for no reason I could fathom, and his mannerism left little doubt. His left upper arm was parallel to his ribcage, but the forearm extended out, wrist cocked, like he was waiting for something to drop from the sky into his open palm. Then I noticed the bag, exact same shade of purple as the rest of his clothing, and the reason his arm was pressed up against his body, holding the strap. I imagine he wouldn't have called it a bag, but an accessory. Is that a fucking purse? He didn't say anything, but his smile dimmed slightly, although he still maintained eye contact. My father might have been appalled by racism, but he had other prejudices. I realize now, and they might have passed on to me, only now I look back and realize it. I'm sure my father never came to that level of awareness, and he would have probably heavily denied any statement that insinuated so. He actually had a gay friend that would come over for a few drinks with my father on occasion. My father always treated him with the utmost respect, and on one hand seemed to completely accept him. However, on the other hand, he still joked around with his heterosexual friends, and even me. Why don't you have a girlfriend yet? You some sort of Why don't you play these sports? Really? You can't do a little work in the yard? Are you queer? In turn, I went through high school where the biggest insult you could achieve beyond calling someone's mother a whore was to call someone gay. It was a different time, and the world was much less PC. If you haven't guessed what happened next, I'll tell you. It just leapt unconsciously to the front of my mind with no warning, and seriously, no conscious thought at all. The man said not a word. The smile faded and he pursed his lips. His facial expression wasn't replaced by anger or even hate. It was pain. A sadness crept into his features, and it was like a gut punch to me for some reason. After breaking eye contact and lowering his gaze to the floor, he brushed by me without a word, seemingly almost injured by the brief contact of our clothing. This guy, who I'd never seen before in my life, received a dose of pain. From me, for no reason but existing and encountering me. As I walked to my car, I realized that on both Nerdboy and Janet, there was that same look. Sure, they both exhibited anger, maybe tried to mask the other expression, but there was something beneath it, the same look I had just seen on the formerly happy stranger. Hurt. Pain. I drove home and proceeded to get drunk. Initially, I began to feel a bit better, not much, but a little. I realized how asinine it was to go to Nutsfart's office. I could have just left work. I might have received a lecture about leaving earlier. Shit. I could have said I wasn't feeling well. I could have done many different things that I didn't do. Unfortunately, after knocking back drinks for a few hours, with Mozart playing in the background, I experienced an emotion that is usually alien to me. Loneliness. I was most often content to be alone, without ever feeling lonely. But that day wasn't a usual day. Nothing normal about it at all. I realized that was why I missed Ahmed at the liquor store. More than what could be normal for me. I don't have any friends, and Ahmed is actually the closest thing to a friend that I have. Sure, we use each other. I him for booze, he me for profit. But it goes beyond that, I think. Not much, but some. I was having a bad day, and I needed some sort of social contact. Some interaction with another human that I trusted to a certain level might just be there for me. Well, he wasn't there, but I still felt the need. It was highly unusual for me to need another person on an emotional level. I thought of Tina. If you asked her, we were an item, and I was her boyfriend. If you asked me, we were nothing, and she was a girl I tolerated about once a week or so in order to get laid. Fuck, I can't do that tonight. I'm not interested in seeing her at all. I pondered it more. Who could I talk to without thinking negatively of? I mentally shifted through all my known acquaintances. I stopped briefly on Alice, but kept going, listing anyone that might be available to just hang out with, mentally assorting pros and cons of each individual. Maybe there were a few clients, but not tonight. I could tolerate them, but could they tolerate me? And came back to Alice. I guess she's the only one. On my drunken drive over to her house, I cared little for getting pulled over, even after I hit a trash can, and the damage I could do to a living person didn't even cross my mind. It was about a 10-mile drive. I tried to stay within the speed limits, and I also tried to stay in my lane, mostly successfully. I almost drove past her house, and instead of braking normally and turning around, I veered sharply right, slamming on the brakes and colliding with her mailbox. As the wooden mailbox shattered, I didn't see any mail, so she must have already gotten it. I did fall over as I got out of the car, but with minimal injury. I hope that she hadn't heard me tear through her mailbox. Fuck, I hope she doesn't see this shit tomorrow, or I won't have a friend tonight. Alice, by the way, is my ex-wife and mother of my 2 children, Peter and Polly. She answers almost immediately after I knocked. In order not to think of the mailbox or have her see it, I pushed past her quickly, thinking, I'm drunk. I figured she would notice that soon enough anyway. Okay, thanks for sharing, she replied. I heard her voice a lot, but rarely thought of it most of the time when I did. Soft, warm, feminine. Her voice from days past, even if her body wasn't. Jack, you can't just push your way into my house. I did that so you wouldn't notice I broke your mailbox. Fuck, Jack, you idiot. Stop thinking. Yes, I saw that when I looked out the window right after it happened, Jack. What's wrong? It was just like Alice not to get mad at me, initially, anyhow, but to see if I was okay. The whole world is wrong, I stammered out. Fucking everything. She stood there, waiting for me to elaborate, I suppose. As she did, I noticed her body. I assume I noticed it before, but I really noticed it at that moment. When she gave birth to Peter, she lost most of her pregnancy weight. But when she gave birth to Polly, she lost little. Now it seems she packs on a couple extra pounds every year. Time stops for no one, and the years continue to go by. The pounds of excess weight might accumulate. Jesus, you've gotten fat. I'm too drunk to control my thinking at all. I resign myself to whatever would be. Thank you, Jack. You aren't looking so healthy yourself. She waddled over toward the kitchen. Would you like a cup of coffee or water before you leave? Got any beer? Coffee or water? Coffee. Be right back. When she came back, she put her hand on my knee and she set the coffee on the aptly named coffee table in the living room. The kids aren't here, and honestly, you never show up unannounced to see them. You rarely take them for your weekends. What's wrong? Everything. Can you be more specific? I then did something I hadn't done in years, hadn't even thought myself capable of doing any longer. I cried. I cried for myself, I cried for my misfortune, I cried for losing my job, I cried in anger, I cried in pain, I cried in confusion, I cried for the gay guy, and even Janet and her boy. I fucking cried. After several minutes, Alice held me, running her hands through my hair, telling me everything would be okay. She was always so damn nice and understanding, and I was always a selfish prick. After that, I told her everything that had happened to me earlier in the day. I started with Super Bitch and ended with destroying her mailbox. When I finished, Alice sighed and then spoke. Why are you so immature? Super Bitch? Nuts fart? Jack, these are things a teenager might find funny, not someone in his 30s. They're my inner thoughts, things that others aren't supposed to know, things no one is supposed to know. It could be worse, right? I could think much worse things, and some people do. I don't want to children, smear animal feces all over myself in the shower, right? I don't fantasize about people. I'm just me. I can't help it. I think things. Jack, she said then. Paused a few seconds. The homosexual, I think you empathize with him because you need empathy. You aren't as big and strong, as powerful as you think, or you thought. You can be hurt. You need human contact, even if you think you don't. Yeah, maybe. Who gives a fuck about that part, I thought. People can read my thoughts. Jack, it's just psychological. It's impossible to read people's thoughts. It's physically impossible. Sure, I absolutely believe that some people are more intuitive than others, but no one can read anyone else's thoughts. Maybe you just feel guilty for being so selfish for so long. That's ridiculous, I thought, knowing I didn't open my mouth. Is it? Yes, right now I am thinking, not speaking. I can feel that my mouth is closed. You are hearing my thoughts. That doesn't seem odd to you? Jack, your lips are moving. She was staring me dead in the face. Fuck. Maybe I am going crazy. Am I actually saying all this shit? Why would I call a stranger a Why did you throw the letter opener at your boss? Did you just think that you did that? No, I lost my temper. I know I did that. Maybe you also, on some level, know that you've spoken all those things you believe were only in your mind today. I clenched my teeth together. Using every facial muscle I had, I pushed my lips together. Am I speaking now? Yes, Jack, I hear you, and I see you. This can't be real. None of this can be real. I'm going insane. That has to be it. That's the only answer. You've had a long day. Why don't you stay here tonight, baby? The kids are gone. Maybe you'll feel better in the morning. Her look of concern remained, but the smile deepened into something more. It looked a whole lot like lust. That was her I want to fuck smile that I hadn't seen in years. Baby? You haven't called me baby in years. Maybe that's the reason for this. It's possible you feel guilty about how we left things, right? Maybe we should get back together, for a trial period at least. You're so fat, I'm not sexually attracted to you. I thought, shit, damn it, Jack, you are a fucking asshole. Did you hear that? There it was, the hurt I had seen on other faces that day, the pain I caused everyone. Yes, Jack, I heard that because you said it. You certainly know how to charm a lady, don't you? I'm sorry. Why are you this way? What the fuck is wrong with you? Even if you believe you're only thinking these things, why do you think them? Alice, I'm so very sorry. I do love you. I'm sorry. You have to believe I'm only thinking all this. I'm not speaking. I know I'm not. Okay, fine, Jack. You only think I'm overweight to be with. That hurts much less knowing you only think it. Is that what you want to hear? Silence bounded aggressively into the room, then settled down for a time. Alice's eyes started tearing up. I was actually thinking that I didn't even know what to think anymore. It was all too much. All of it. Too much. Then, because my day was destined to be shit, there was a knock on the door. Alice's expression became one of startlement momentarily, until she briefly made eye contact with me, then went to the door. Who is it? The police, ma'am. Open the door. Fuck. Hold on, she said quite loudly to those on the other side of the door. Then she turned to me and whispered, go to bed. I'll tell them that I did it, okay? I hit the mailbox. But you have to promise me that you didn't hurt anyone on the way over here, okay? I hit a garbage can. I'm pretty sure that's all. I said these things only into my head. Okay, please, Jack, go to bed. I'll take care. No, I'm pretty sure that Nutsfart called the cops. I'm sure I'm wanted on assault charges, too. No, I'll turn myself in tomorrow, but I want the rest of tonight. Jack, I'm sorry, Alice. As I climbed the back fence, I wondered why I wanted the rest of the night. What will I do? I have no car. It's getting a bit cold out. Why not go to jail now? Why not take up Alice on her offer? I didn't know why. I'm not as young as I used to be, and I had a bit of difficulty scaling the fence. As I jumped down on the other side, a light suddenly illuminated the entire backyard. Motion sensor. Shit. Doesn't matter. They're often tripped by leaves blowing in the wind or a stray cat. I should be fine. It wasn't. A dog started barking, somewhere in the interior of the house, and by the sound of the barks, it wasn't a small dog. Then a back porch light came on. An elderly woman, dressed in what I can only describe as a flowery muumuu, came out onto the back porch. Luckily, minus a vicious dog. But as I surmised moments later, the dog might have been better, because clenched in her hands was a shotgun. Just fucking great. Who's there? You! She caught sight of me, frozen like a deer in the headlights. What are you doing? I'm just trying to cut through your backyard. I'm sorry. I stood up and began walking toward her. Not another move, Buster. I'm Annie Oakley with this here gun. I stopped and raised my arms. She was about 30 feet away. I'm very sorry. I was just trying to cut through your yard, not bother you. I only thought these things. You trying to rob me? No, ma'am. I was just trying to get through. I'm sorry. I'll go back. You wait right there until I call the police. No. She seemed to suddenly change her mind. Come a little closer. I did as she asked, within 10 feet of her. I'll just go, okay? No harm. You son of a bitch. Are you here to me? Shit, you wish, you old bat. I then noticed one of her gnarled arthritic hands. She had a finger on the trigger and it was shaking a little too much for comfort, with the barrel of the shotgun less than 10 feet from me, pointed directly center mass, right in the middle of my chest. I'm goddamn Calamity Jane with this shotgun, mister, and I got an itchy finger. This is getting redundant. You don't even have to call the police. They are right behind me at your neighbor's house. You here to boy? Are you fucking I said it aloud this time. Another term in this modern world is too PC for. How many things am I here for? Who would want to you anyway? Does it look like I'm into necrophilia? Would I rape you first or you first? Honestly, fuck. The order wouldn't even matter. Whichever was first, the would probably feel the same. She was a bit old. I don't like a smart aleck. Are you back talking me? Jesus Christ, what century is this, you old bitch? All within a few moments, I was scared for my life, then angry with the entire world, most specifically the woman with the shotgun pointed at me, and finally I just started feeling empty, void of emotion. It was then I saw it, an anger burning within her. There was no sadness, no pain that I had seen in others that day. There was a hatred, a complete and utter hatred of me. I'm sure it took years to become this. She was so ancient, probably lost in today's world, and it didn't look like she was the sort of person who had anyone in her life. Not just a lover, absolutely anyone. No one wanted to deal with her shit, and she was probably confused as hell at this brave new world that she didn't understand. Life had kept her too long, and she was like an animal in a strange cage that she despised. At that moment in time, the intruder into her backyard represented that cage. Is this what I will become, I thought? Am I heading in this direction now with my attitude, with my life? I don't want to end my days standing here in a muumuu with a shotgun. Fuck that noise. I thought of myself. I was pretty tired of life, I realized. If I had more time to think, I might have come to the conclusion that I would get over that. Maybe even the next day. I was exhausted. The alcohol was wearing off quickly with all the coffee and water I had consumed at Alice's, and the time that had gone by while I was there. Of course, having a shotgun pointed at me might have somewhat rushed the sobriety. I'm warning you, mister. I'm going to call the cops. They ain't got a liking for your type. Her whole body was shaking now, maybe slightly from the cold. I think it was mostly from what she was trying to talk herself into doing. You want to kill me? You're looking for an excuse, I thought. I'm going to call the police, Buster boy, she said, but then physically didn't make a move toward doing so. I figured I'd give her a hand. If you're going to call the cops, you would have. Now go ahead and shoot me, you crazy old I'll shoot you, mister, I will. She began to tremble even more than previously. If you don't shoot me right now, I will you, rob you, murder you, then your fucking dog. And she obliged. Even the entire backyard soaking in artificial light, the light that erupted from the barrel of the shotgun was bright. The blast that tore a gigantic hole through the relative quiet of the evening was absolutely deafening. Hey guys, thanks for watching. This one's over now. Done. Appreciate you watching it. Bye.